Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another video on the Caden Games YouTube channel. My name is Caden, and today it's the Beginner's Roblox Scripting Series, episode number 3. I did make my cursor nice and big so you guys can see where it is. Also, before we do start the tutorial, make sure you do have everything open that we did last time. So we've got properties, we've got the Explorer, and we also need the output open. Perfect. Okay, so last episode, I taught you how to add a script, print things to the output, what errors are, and everything like that. So if you do remember how to add a script, let's add one into server script service. So if you press the little plus, you can search for script here. And there we go. And let's just try printing something once again. If you remember how to print things, you do print, and then the string of hello. And that should be fine if we go over here to test and play. There we go. So that is how print works. You learned that last time, so you should remember how that works. I'm just going to switch this to run. And there we go. Okay. So that works. That's good. So let's get into what a variable is. A variable is a way to kind of store information in your script so that you don't have to kind of type it out every single time. So the way that you write a variable is by typing local. That's what you need to put in front of all variables to make them. And then right here you put your variable name, and there are a couple rules for variable names. Number one, the name must not have spaces. Number two, your name cannot start with a number, but you can have numbers in your variable names. That's basically the main ones. And a good way to do your variables is by capitalizing the first letters of your variable's name, or you can also put underscores. So tell me which one of these names would work for the script. We've got the first one, we've got the second one. Actually, you know what? Let me try going this. You've got the first one. We've got the, oh my gosh, this cursor's huge. We've got the next one, and we've got the third one. Which one would not work? Pause video. Try and answer now. The correct answer was the first one, because of course, as the rule states, you cannot start your variable name with a number. So that means that this variable name here, you cannot use. Okay, so to make a variable, you need to type local, and then your variable name. So let's call it number. And you can set that equal to something. We can set it to the string of number. That would work, but actually let me just tell you what the data types are. So you've got data types. What is a data type? A data type are different types of data. That is a great description anyway. As you know, this is a string when you put it in quotation marks, so that's just a piece of text that is actually one of the data types. So let's put these in variables. Let's do local string equals hello, and then the next one is an integer or an int value. Integer, let's call it. And an integer, if you do not know in math, or an int, that is a number, and it can also be a negative number. So let's set that to 30. And the last, actually there's two more. You've got Boolean values, or also bool values as Roblox calls them. So let's call this Boolean. Actually, I'll just call it bool to make it a little bit simpler. And there are only two possible outcomes for a bool value. There is true and there's false. And make sure that the F or the T are lowercase letters. That is very important. So let's set this bool variable to true. That is the third data type, main one anyway. You've got an object data type now, and that is referencing an object in the game. So if we go out of this script, you see this spawn here. Jeez, this is huge. We've got spawn location inside of workspace, and what you can do to reference that is, we will be going over this more in depth in the next video, referencing objects, but right here, if you set object to first game.workspace, which that's referencing the whole game, which is everything in this explorer, and then you've got workspace, which is a level down from that, and also, if you do prefer, you do not have to put game, you can put workspace like that, but I'm always doing game.workspace, so that is what I'll be using in this series. Game.workspace, that's referencing the workspace, and then we've got dot spawn location, so the dot basically goes down a level, so the object is equal to spawn location now. Those are the main data types, and yeah, so that is the variables. Let me just put a little name here of variable name rules. Perfect. Okay, so those are the data types. Let's go over them once again. String is a piece of text. A integer is just a number. Oh, and also, integers cannot have quotation marks around them. You can put a number inside of the string, sorry. So if we have hello, we can put 30 here, and that is still counted as a string, but you can put numbers in there if you need to. So it's a number, an integer, or an int value is a number. A bool value is a true or false. So it's either true or it's either false. You can't get anything in between. And then we've got the last one, which is an object value. And that is referencing an object in your game. And that is useful if you wanted to change the properties of it, which we will also be doing in the next episode. Okay, so those are the data types. So let's do some examples here. First of all, we've got, okay, so let's set a variable called int, and let's set it equal to 2, and let's try printing that. So when you're printing a variable, you do not need quotation marks, because if I was trying to print it like that, and then we run the script, you see, it's not going to print our number. It's just going to print the word int, because we put it in quotation marks, meaning that it's a string. But we actually want it to print the variable. So in order to print this variable here called int, what we have to do is get rid of these quotation marks and just do int, which would be like that. And capitals do matter. If you mess up any of the capitals, the script will not function as you want it to. Let's try that. So if you print that, there we go, and we got our number. So that is how you print a variable. And the same goes for a string. Let me just call this example 1, and all this code will be in the description if you want to use it for reference. Example 2, let's try printing a string. Local string is equal to s. That'll work. And remember, let's do print. And if we did it like this, of course that would not work. You know what that would do. So what we need to do is like this, actually. It needs to be with the uppercase S. String. And now that should print S. Let's see. Perfect. It did print S. And it also tells you what line number and in what script it printed it. So that is perfect. Now let's try a bool value. If you do example 3, local bool is equal to true, and then we print. Of course, you need to do without the quotation marks. If we print bool, gonna get true. That is good. And so yeah, that is how you print a bool value. Although you wouldn't really print these if you're making an actual script that did something. And the last one is example 4, and that's if we were to print an object, which you can't necessarily print the actual object, but I will show you something that you can do. Is game.workspace, spawn location again. So I will be going over this better in the next video, and we'll actually try making something. But what you can do is do object, and then you press dot, and here are all the variables listed. So for example, you can do dot name, and that is good. So let's actually make this variable with the name. So let's do dot name at the end, and that's perfect. And then we do print object, and this will print the object name of spawn location. We will be going over the properties and everything better in the next video, by the way. Perfect. So that is how you print the name of an object and how you print all the different data types. And that is how you make variables. But just to tell you, variables aren't usually used for this sort of thing. What you would most likely use a variable for is if you wanted to keep track of something in the game that had a value initially. So if you remember that the script does start from the top and runs down instantly. So if you wanted to, right when the game starts, check if a value is equal to true, but then you wanted to change that value later in the script, you can do that, and the variable would show what the value was initially. And another way is if you wanted to have a random number, and you wanted to use that random number to do something, you'd also use variables for that. But it is really good to use variables for typing in the object name so that it's a lot easier to use the objects. For example, if we were to change the transparency, which we will learn soon, but let's just name this object and then do game.workspace.spawnLocation. So this is something that you could do. And then if you wanted to do a bunch of stuff like changing properties, I will teach you how to do this, obviously, again, in a little bit in the next video. But say we wanted to set it to transparency is 1, and we wanted to do object dot can collide, and that's equal to a bool value. Let's set can collide to false. And so if you want to do that, that's a lot faster than having to go game.workspace.spawnLocation.transparency equals 1, and then game.workspace. And of course this scales in bigger scripts, it's even more useful. But instead of doing that, it's a lot better just to use these two lines. If you do have any questions for anything that we did in this video, please let me know in the comments, and I will assist you as much as I can. And if you would like this script, it is in the description below. Thanks so much for watching this video. It really does help me out if you subscribe and give it a like. We've got an upload every single day, so make sure you do stay tuned for that. And thanks so much for watching. This is a Caden Games YouTube video, and I'll see you next time.